Mesachta Menochos Daf Mem Tes Amar Aleph, and we're starting from the top line, the end of the first line. Okay. Sagt die Gemara, Tani Rabba Baba Chona Kamei Rav. Rabba Baba Chona was learning in front of Rav. Kivsei HaAtzeres Sheshechotem L'Shum Eilim. That the Kivsei HaAtzeres is brought. These are the kvasim that are brought as a shlamim on Shvuos, together with the Shtei Alachem. Amongst the other karbanis also, the Eilim were also, which served as a Eilah. So what did he do? He thought that these two Eilim, he says that was like kvasim, but he thought these two Eilim, that he's makriv, right? He thought he's being makriv it as Kivsei HaTzeres. Oh, not going to kvasim. Sheidim, aber v'lei ola l'baylim l'shem cheva. He shachted shlamim Kivsei HaTzeres l'shem oila because he thought the Kivsei HaTzeres that he shachted, meaning he thought they are two Eilim, and he was makriv it on Shvuos l'oila for the thing. For Kivsei HaTzeres for Shvuos, it's kasha, but the Bailam Amanish the Yates given the Chav because he shachted a shlamim officially, and it was l'shem Eilah. He did it for Eilim. So it's a shlamim that was nishchat shalei l'shma, and the halacha is if you shachted a shlamim shalei l'shma, so you can eat the meat. But it's nishyates of the carb. Yes, he has to get another 2 shepselach zolzaim for the Kivsei HaTzeres. Amalei, so Rav said back to Rav Baba Chana, all no, at the Yetzi given, und gegessen in Fleisch. Rav Chizda gesagt, Mistaber of Milsi the Rav, it's reasonable to say that the words of Rav, that he said that there were Yetzer, is b'chasava Eilim u'shchatim l'shum kvasim. It's talking about the one that he thought he's shachting these kvasim that he was shachting. He said in his mind they're Eilim, but they were really kvasim, and he shachted l'shem kvasim, but in his mind he's shachting Eilim. So he could be he did it deliberately, that he had in mind after Eilim, but he'll gain l'shem kvasim. Aber bepel he had in mind for Eilim, but bepel was kvasim, and he shachted kvasim. So he says sharei kvasim l'shum kvasim nishchatu. Bepel mamish. The bottom line, he slaughtered kvasim for the sake of kvasim. So therefore it's kasha. Even though in his mind he said it's for Eilim. Avol kasavur Eilim ushchaton l'shum Eilim. But what if he shachted these as Eilim, the kvasim, and he said it's Eilim, and he shachted. I don't want him for Kivsei HaTzeres. I want him for Eilim. So now he didn't say he wants it l'shem kvasim. Before he said it was kvasim, but his mashava Eilim, but it was kvasim, and he shachted kvasim. But if he thought about Eilim and he shachted l'shem Eilim, so das kvasim. So akira b'tois havi akira. He says loy, it's not gonna. He's not Eilim l'shem chayva because akira b'tois havi akira. Even though this mashava. He had him for Eilim, and he shot l'shum Eilim, but since it was kvasim, he wasn't Yetzer. Meaning, if he would have known that these kvasim, here was a mistake. Here shows you a mistake is different. If he would have known that it's kvasim, he wouldn't have shachted it l'shem Eilim. He would have shachted l'shem Kivsei HaTzeres. But he didn't know it was kvasim. In his mind, it was Eilim, and he was shachting l'shem Eilim. It was an honest mistake. But it doesn't matter. An honest mistake. He was oike the whole thing because it was kvasim. Rabba says, hey, it was an honest mistake. He thought they're Eilim, and it was really kvasim. But if he would have known it's kvasim, he would have shachted the kvasim l'shem Kivsei HaTzeres. Omar Rabba said, Rabba is asking on himself. He asked on unser shmur that we learned from the words of Rav that if it's akira betos, it was mamish honest mistake. He thought it was Eilim and he was making l'shem Eilim and it was bepel mamish was kvasim. You said it's not akira and it's all kasha. So I'm going to ask you a question. He says it says The following Mishnah, HaKoyanim shepiglu b'migdash, Koyanim who were mefagel, meaning you had in mind, let's say, it was a chatas, you had in mind to eat it like a shlomim, 2 days and 1 night, versus a chatas, it's only 1 day, 1 night. Mizidin, if he did it bebezit chayam. If he did it bebezit, why? What does it mean? Why is he chay? Because he caused a loss for the balabayis. He came, the balabayis says, here, be makval sachatas. And dus genume on the comment, what do you want to get back? You got back at me, you had in mind, a pigel is all dafn came from Nachamala behema. No, he's chayiv. The kohen is chayiv for doing such a shtick. Oh, shegigim. But if he was a shegig, then he's potter. The kohen. The Tani Allah, and we learned in the Braisa, pigul and pigul. Oh, but it is possible to come. The pigul was a pigul. Let's understand the mistake. And if it's similar to our mistake of before. If he knew, the kohen knew, he gave him to be makav al zachatas. And from deswegen, he had in mind, he gave him as a chatas that should be only for 1 day, 1 night, for day and that night, and he had in mind, no, for shnei yom v'layla, like a shlamim. The kohen. That's it. So he says, "Hi shegigin." That's called a shegig. You knew it was a chatas, and you knew it's 1 day, 1 night. You went ahead and made 2 days and 1 night. Mizidin of it. That's a case of mizidin. So that's not the case. Mizidin, he can be potter. You said in this case he's potter by shegigim. So what's the shegig? Elalav the kasava shlamimhu the kamachashba lishum shlamim. Surely the kohen thought that it was a shlam lechatchila. And that's why, even though he gave it to him as a chatas, like by the elim, the guy had a machshava of elim, even though it was really kvasim, and he brought it as a sacrifice as a elim. But if he would have known kvasim, he would have done a kivsei atzeres. Here also, he didn't know it was a chatas. He thought it was a shlamim. It was makal l'shem shlamim. Vikatoni, but nevertheless we say pigulam pigul as nishti yitzah. So alma, so we see akira b'tois havi akira. And we learned to Nav is loy havi akira is yitza. Amalei Abaye said loy lam the yoda the chatasi. Really, the kohen knew beferish it's a chatas. Become a chashiv, ba lishum shlamim, and he had tzalachis had a mind lishum shlamim. So it's a real pigul. The Shtava said nobody's questioning it. So how's he a shegeg? Ubaim muta. He says I thought. This person needs more shlamim than a chatas. The kohen decided this. He's making a mistake. He doesn't need a chatas. Let me make it into a shlamim for him. So pigul is a zicha because he didn't bemaze it, but he's a shoygig because he thought you're allowed to do it. I'm allowed to exchange the kohen and gemein. Yeah, if you would scratch his head, you might get a splinter. But anyway, so what happened? He did have tzalachis. So it's Amis and Pigul. But he's not chayav because he thought it's mutter that you're allowed to do that. Maser Abzei, the fact that Shai Rab Shimon Ahim Kolam Menochos Nikim Tzu Shalei Lishman Kshedes v'Ol Habayim L'Shem Chayva. All Menochos. If the Kemitza was done Shalei Lishman, it's kosher the Bayim HaYotzi Lechavasa. Sheina Menochos Leimus L'Zvachim. Menochos are not similar to Zvachim. Why? Sha'akrim it's Machmas L'Shum Macheshes. If somebody makes a kmitza, right, but from a pan that's a shallow pan, and he had in mind, I'm taking a kmitza and the kmitza l'shum macheshes from the top, from a much deeper pan. So we say, hey, look at his actions. He did the kmitza in a machvas. He can have in mind was a vil, but the pale mamish was a machvas. Nishke macheshes. So we say he's yotzad l'shum, even though he said l'shum macheshes, it's really a machvas or chareva. He took a kmitza from a chareva that means without oil, from a flour without oil, and he said l'shum belula. This is a kmitza mixed with oil, but it's not. From his actions, you see, it was definitely without oil. When it comes to a regular, comes nishtazeh. They all look the same. One shchita, one coming. You can't tell from the mice what he's doing. What's his machshava? But Fedish not. How is it talking about? if you're going to say he knew was a kmitza was from a thin pan, the kakabitz l'shuma cheshes, and he made a kmitza l'shuma cheshes. In fact, if he knew and he's aftzalach, he's saying l'shuma cheshes, ki ma'aseh machicha my habi. Who cares if his actions show differently? He said befedish, he knew what he was doing, and he said l'shuma aftzalach. He said l'shuma cheshes. Zicha ta'oiking event. It's not kosher. Elalav. Only what's the case? The kasavim acheshesi. He thought, oh, this is like I made a measurement by me. It's a macheshes. It's consistent. And he thought it's a deep pan. The car comes like l'shum acheshes, and he made the kmitz l'shum acheshes. The time he made a mistake. He thought it was acheshes. So the hachahu, the ma'aseh meichichan alav. Here we say, woman so shuma cheshes. So what do we see? And he made a kmitz l'shum cheshes. And since the machshava was betos, so Rabbi Shimon said this machshava of toes will not help to passel it. Will be kosher. So the hachahu, the ma'aseh meichichan alav. Ha'ba'alma akira b'toes habi akira. But regular. In a regular case, we won't say a machshavas toys will be on Akira. Only over here because the Maisim proves it. Right. So and the Maisa shows it was a machvas, so we'll say it's kosher because of the Maisa. But normally, if there's no Maisa to prove it, we'll say the Akira is Akira. It says Akasha, if Rav that says it's not Akira. No, it's talking about he knew it was a machvas. And he made a kmitza despite, and he says l'shum cheshes. Who cares if his actions show differently? He said beferish l'shum cheshes. So Rabbi goes according to his time. He says a machshava that you could tell he's lying. You see he's lying. He says it's a machvas, and he says l'shum cheshes. Of mezetach leferish that it's a machvas. So then he's lying, and we say it's kosher. It is kosher, even though he's atzlachas. Because we say he's lying. He's a pashto ligna. Who cares what he says?
Doesn't make sense.
Soll machen zu lassen, let's nicht helfen. The Maisim, we see from the Maisim befedish that it's not so.
It doesn't make sense.
Okay, but that's what he's saying. That's the case. He says, "V'al says minkra." He says, "Allah chush machshav shenika adava shehi sheker." You see, it's sheker. You go minchas machas l'shem machash shemaser shalam mincha mechik Allah. So the Amos is kosher because you see it's befedish sheker. Yeah, and you see it's sheker. But mashenkin by a regular behema, you can't tell. So then we'll say it's different, right?
Yeah.
Zakti Mishnah hatmidim eimak and samasofin. You have the Talmud Shal Shacha, and you have the Talmud Shal Ben Abayim, and then you have Musafim. A lot of times, it's not ma'akiv. A lot of times you can come to 7:70 and you want to finish up fast. Das ist der Shalamin für Musaf. Ich hab eine Musaf. Okay, da haben wir Musaf. Du fängst an Schachnis mit der Minion. Okay, ich da Musaf. Jetzt mach mal Schachs. Und dann Akis hat er schon Vater also, wir können machen endlich more schneller. But he says it's not market. The Tmina are not market the Musafim. You can bring the Musaf before the Tom. The Layam Musafim Akvinas at minute. And the Musaf before the Musaf comes before the Talmud Shal Ben Abayim. So he says that Talmud Shal Ben Abayim could be before the Musaf also. And the Musaf are not marking one another. If you don't have the exact number that you needed for the Musaf, be marked wherever you have. What's if he didn't bring the Talmud Shal Shacha? Yakrivu Ben Abayim. Then he should be makish makriv. Because the Tmina are not marking one another. Rabbi Shimon, meaning if you didn't do the Tam Shal Shach, it doesn't mean you can't do the Tam Shal Ben Abayim. You bring the Tam Shal Ben Abayim. Rabbi Shimon, a Masai is man shahayu anus ma'shaygun. When was this din noyeg? When he was an anus, or he was a shaygeg, and he wasn't able to bring the Tam Shal Shachar. So then he can bring the Tam Shal Ben Abayim. But if he was amazed and he didn't bring the Tam Shal Shacha knowingly and he didn't bring it, Lo Yakriv Ben Habayim. Then he cannot be Makriv the Tam Shal Ben Habayim. In Lo Yiktira Akteris Babeika, now by Kteris, you have to do the Kteris in the morning by the Mizbeach Hazav, Mizbeach Hapnimi, Yaktira Ben Habayim. He should be Makter Ben Habayim. And here he says, and the takana of the Shir of Kteris, that it's a Chatzimana in the morning, a Chatzimana in the afternoon, it's only a takana. You could do a half a mana Ben Habayim. Okay. So it's only a takana. Shir Kteris ain't in Torah. All right, it's others say it's a halach l'meishmasina. But Rab Shimon argues. He says the kulo ha'isik ben habayim. If he didn't bring the kteris the half of mana in the morning, he has to bring a full mana ben habayim of kteris. Now he says she'em mechanchin, and the Gemara will ask what's how she'em mechanchin to tell me the Mishnah. She'em mechanchin as mizbech hazav elav kteris hasamim. You can't be mechanech the mizbech hazav only if you bring a full share of kteris, a share mana. And it really fits because the shir mana of Bein Habayim. Ve'loi mizbech ha'il el b'tam shel shacha. And the mizbech ha'chitzain cannot be nischanech only after you are makriv the tam shel shacha. Ve'loi yisar shulchan, and the shulchan can ishver nischanech el b'lechem ha'ponim, only with the lechem ha'ponim that you put on b'Shabbos and you take off the old lechem ha'ponim. Ve'loi yisar menorah el b'shiva neidah yisah. And the menorah cannot be in the schanach until you light all 7 candles, bein habayim towards the evening. If the challah you made fresh a whole week, why had to put in muchalas? It's a kenasen, yeah, Shabbos l'Shabbos. They took all fresh. That's what you had to stay a whole week, and it stayed fresh. The kahanim. Every week they take it. There's 12 loaves. A lot of kahanim got bread, fresh bread. Anyway, Zakti Marabam. A tzibur that doesn't have enough money to buy the shepselach, the kvasim, for the tmidim and the musafim. Which one should he buy first? In fact, how's the case talking about? If you're talking about the tmidim of Yom Tiv and the musafim of Yom Tiv, shita the tmidim adife. For sure, you should spend the money for the tmidim, because the havaluhu tada umekudish. You're talking about the tmidim that they brought on Yom Tiv. The tamid was not just a tamid because of tadir, but it was mekudish. It was a Yom Tiv diketamid, and versus a musaf, which is only mekudish, but it's not tamid. Ela tmidim l'macha. So he says you're right. The tamid of Yom Tov versus Musafim, tamid comes first, if it's the tamid of Yom Tov. But we're talking about he didn't have enough money. He had only enough to buy either today's Musaf or tomorrow morning's tamid, which is after Yom Tov. Which one comes first? So he says, Tmidim de l'machol, Musafim, or Musafim de ha'idna. Which one comes first? The Tmidim of tomorrow or the Musafim of today? Tmidim adife, I'll say Tmidim should be better than Musafim because you can't tada. Because it's tada. Tada sheina tada kaina. Oy domo Musafim. Maybe Musafim is better. Musafim adife, the havalahu mekudish, unishna mekudish. Here he brings down from the Mefarshim that it's Zmanei Koidem. This is yet the Zman for them, the Musaf. The Talmud is Famorgan. The Talmud is for tomorrow, and the Musaf is for today. Amalei, Rav Chizal said back to Rav Chibra Abba Nisua. We learned an answer to your question. It says, Atmidim Eim Akmin Es Amusafim. In the Mishnah, we learned that Tmidim are not Ma'akim the Musafim. You can bring Musafim first. V'lo Musafim Ma'akim is Atmidim. V'lo Musafim Ma'akim is Atmidim. In fact, you tell me, what's the case? If you're going to say he has enough money to buy Kvasim, Saif for the Tmidim, and Saif for the Musafim. And Veligdam, and the Shaila is Veligdam, that this that we said, that means that you could bring either one first, the Musaf or the Tamid. Says, how could you say that? But Tanya, Fedish Gelent Nabraisa, Menayin Shalei Dova Koidel Tam Shal Shacha. Talmud Leiman, from what do we know that nothing can come before the Tam Shal Shacha? Because it says in the pasuk, if you read the whole pasuk, if you Allah, can eat my big, but Orach Allah, ha oila, v'yamar Rabba, ha, the hey of ha'oila. It's mashma as the oila rishena. The oila is the first one that comes before the mizbeach. So you can't say that it's talking about which one comes first, and you have enough money for both, because the Talmud comes first. Ella, only the Shiloh was Pshita the Leslie. He did. It's for sure talking about he didn't have enough money aside for the Tmidim aside for the Musafim. So he the Yoime, if it's talking about the Tmidim Musafim of that same day, Amai, why should you have a choice? The Talmud is Atoda Umi Kudash. The Talmud has Beta Zachen. It has the Todir, and it's also today, it's a Talmud from the Yom Tov. Odiv, so it's for sure better than Musafim. Elalav, who's the Shaila Yivan, the Lamacha, the Tmidim, you only have enough money either to buy today's Musaf or tomorrow morning's Talmud. The Katani, and we learn Eimak. We said one is, you could do either one. Alma Kiyadadi Nino. So you see they're equal. When it's Musafim of today, and there's money is Koidem, it comes before the Talmud of tomorrow. So we say either one is fine. Either one you pick is first. Amalei Abaya said back. So what do we see here? So you see you can answer. Reb Chia had a shaila. Which one comes first? And we answered it. So it says that you could choose either one. Amalei Abaya said no. Loilam the Islu. Mamis is talking about he had enough money for both, for the Tmidim and Musafim. Veligdam, and we're talking about which one comes first. Kashelo, Shlo Yehei Dava Koidem. Veligdam. Bei mir steht Veligdam. Yeah, by me is the Nikud. 6:30. So in fact, you might have. I'm sorry. No, 6:25. 6:25, I think. Yeah, it's right on the board. I think 6:25. Look, Mincha Beis, and then might have right after. Veligdam, and this that we learned that it's not ma'akiv one another. That's Menagei to Kedima. So, what do you mean Menagei to Kedima? We just finished all. Either Kashelosh Le'ei Dova Koidem, that nothing could come before the Talmud Shal Shacha. How could you say you could choose either one first? And for the Gemara, because mitzvah be'almahu, it's not a mitzvah, it's nicht ma'akiv. But the Evet, if you did the Musafim before the Talmud, it's still going to be good. That's what it means, ein ma'akvim. As nishkin, it's not a mitzvah be'almahu, it's nishkin ikuv dike mitzvah. Toshma, come in here, and I'll bring you from the following Mishnah Araya. To answer Reb Chia's Shaila, you remember Reb Chia's Shaila, which one comes first? So it says, Ein pechasin mishisha tloyim, hamvukarim belishkis hatloyim, kedei l'shabbos v'shnei yom tevim shel Rosh Hashanah. He says you have to have 6 tloyim shepsalach that waited 4 days to check that there was no mum. It had to be in the lishkis hatloyim for 4 days. How many do you need of that before Shabbos and the 2 Yom Tov Rosh Hashanah? You need 6 in that box. You have to, before you go into Shabbos, which is like we're going to have Pesach, Shabbos and Sunday, Monday. So before you go in to the 3-day the Shabbos and 2 days of Yom Tov, you better have 6 Tmidim in the box that were already 4 days checked from a mum. Because for 2 Tmidim for Shabbos, 2 Tmidim for each day of Rosh Hashanah. So 2, 4, and 6. 2 days of Rosh Hashanah, each day is 2. So you have 2 is 4, and then Shabbos, another 2 is 6. In fact, you want to hechidami, how's it talking about? If you're going to say there's a lot of kvasim, a lot of shepsalach, Tmidim, umusafim, tuva, it's not just 6, there's much more. You have to have, it says, you have to have shnei kvasim for the Musvei Shabbos. You have to have 7 Musvei Reish Chodesh and 7 Musvei Reish Hashanah, for Reish Chodesh Tishrei. So you need 7, 14 for the 2 days of Rosh Hashanah. Then you need the Musvei of Shabbos, which is 14 and 16. Then you have the 6th Midim, so it's 22. So what do you tell me? Only 6? The Leslie. Only you have to say it's talking about that they didn't have enough kvasim. Ushmami no tmidim adifi. Nevertheless, if you don't have enough, which one should you buy first and which one should you take first? The Tmidim. So you see, Shabbos supersedes all the Tmidim of Shabbos supersede the Musrei of Shabbos and the Musrei of Reish Chodesh. The Tmidim come first. So you have a raya. Tmidim supersedes. So that's the answer for Rav Chia Shaila. Says you want to loy. Lo'elam the Eastland. Amos is talking about he has enough Shep Salach for 22. Why Dafke 6? He said, Ein Peichas Meshishat Loim Hambukarin Belishkas Hatloim Aba Yomim Koidem Shchita. There's only the only ones that needed to be prepared 4 days before to be checked out from a mum before the Shchita 4 days before was only the Tmidim. That's why it's only spoke about the Tmidim. We should have 6 that were prepared already 4 days before the Yom Tov and Shabbos to check out for a mum. For that, for the Tmidim, they have to be checked out 4 days before. Umani, who does it follow? Ben Bagbag, it's Ben Bagbag. The time that we learned in the Braisa. Ben Bagbag, menayin letomid shetoim bikur abo yom kedem shchita. How do we know that by a tomid it needs to be checked out before shchita 4 days before the shchita from a mum? Tamalema, from this that it says in the pasuk, Tishmeru lahakev li b'moyadei. It says the lashon Tishmeru by the Tomid, ulahalon, and by the Pesach they were makiv in Mitzrayim. Huema it says v'hoyu lachem lemishmeres. It says the lashon lemishmeres. Ad abo asa yoim. So just like malahalon, just like by the Pesach Mitzrayim, they collected the 10th, and when did they hold? How long did they hold it for? For 4 days. Tom bika Tom bika bo yomim kaidem shchita. You needed to check out for a mum for 4 days before the shchita. Avkan, so too by the common tamid toun bika abo yomim kaidem shchita. You need a bika 4 days before the shchita. So that's what we learned it out from Zeder Shava. Amalei Ravino Avashi Hani Shisha Shiva Ava. Why are you saying only 6 Tmidim? There's 7. The Iked, the Tzafar, the Tlosa, the Shabbat. You have the Tuesday, you have Shabbos, Sunday, Monday. Und noch Yom Tov, gleich noch Yom Tov, the morning, you don't have time to prepare another Tamid that was 4 days checked before the Shechita. So you should have a 7th one for the Tuesday morning, right after the Yom Tov, because it's very hard to go to the store and go find. It's right away the next morning, Tamid Shashach in the morning. According to your time, Tmanya, there's 8. The Ike, the Panya, the Malab Shabbat. There's Erev Shabbos. Erev Shabbos, also in the morning, the Tamid Shashach. So it should be 8. So Yimara Alei Kasha. That's not a kasha. The labasa, the akriv ka'oma. He's talking about that he's counting the Mishnah chapped on the kvasim after the Tamid Shashach of Erev Shabbos. So then you need to have 6. So Gemara, aber mikoma came shiva hava. Nevertheless, you have 7. Says Gemara elatana be'alma koi. Only that he says that Tana that said you need kvasim. He didn't say because of it was a case of Shabbos and 2 days Yom Tov. He says, "Umay." He said, "What is the kavanah and what is the shear? What is the shear of always? How much should you have prepared? 6. What is the example? Kedei l'Shabbos u'shnei Yom Tov u'shor Rosh Hashanah. The shear for Shabbos and 2 days of Rosh Hashanah, which equals 6. Siman be'alma. Stama siman. Of a niche that because he's worried about the case, he gave you a siman of 6. That we're not talking about a case. We're talking a siman, yeah. Was heißt das siman shaila? Siman be'alma, sagt er.
No, before Simone down. Das war schon, ich mache a siman shaila da.
Nein, bei mir steht nicht. No, it's not geschehen. No. So the Gemara sagt, Simon B'Alma. So nish, that's not the fall. We're not talking about a case. We're talking about what it should be always 6. And the simon for this is Shabbos and Rosh Hashanah that falls out right after Shabbos, or the Farket, Rosh Hashanah and Geit Gleich Hayan Shabbos.
You have 3 and 3.
So you have 6, 2 per day. Daikanami, that it's not a case, because the Ketani, because we learned Beferish in the Mishnah, the Lashon Kedei Le Shabbos. We like Ketani Le Shabbos, we learned Kedei, the shear, that's right to have for Shabbos and Rosh Hashanah. We like Ketani Le Shabbos, we Lishnei Yom Shor Rosh Hashanah. So the Gemara Shmamina, Stakaraya, that it was only a simon, but it wasn't the case. It was just a simon. How many?